CBS presents What They Believe. Hindus, Zoroastrians, Baha'is.
Oh my God.
Usually it's, what is Bahai? I start by telling my friends that we have the Baha'i House of Worship here, and some of them said, I didn't know I could go in. I'm like, yeah, you get to go in. I'm like,
and reveal to them. I think the essence of Baha'i Faith is unity.
I always felt that there had to be this oneness that existed, and that God could not have left some of us alone and favored others.
And abide in thy law.
The Baha'i Faith is one of the world's youngest religions. Followers believe in the word of a prophet called Baha'u'llah. Born in 1817 in Persia, now Iran, he declared that all the world's religions come from the same God and have the same purpose, to unite humanity.
He said the earth is but one country and mankind its citizens. Humanity is facing certain problems that are so complex and so global that there's just no way to solve them until we establish world unity.
Baha'u'llah is believed to be the latest in a series of divine messengers, following in the footsteps of Abraham, Zoroaster, Buddha, Jesus Christ, and Muhammad, among others.
Anywhere that there was a flowering of civilization, there had to be a divine message at the root of that God sent a messenger and a holy book and a teaching that allowed that society to flower and to come together.
Baha'u'llah's revelations resulted in a lifetime of persecution and imprisonment by Persian and Ottoman authorities. Despite internment, his teachings continued to spread and attract followers.
Even the people who did not become Baha'is recognized the majesty that he just radiated.
Today, followers of the faith are given a rare glimpse of their founder's image while on pilgrimage in Haifa, Israel, home of the Baha'i World Center.
We wouldn't want that image to become an object of reverence or adoration or put on altars or anything like that. We're worshiping God, and we weren't really worshiping Baha'u'llah.
The story of the first Baha'is in North America begins here at the Baha'i House of Worship in Wilmette, Illinois.
By the early 1900s, you have a community of a few hundred Baha'is here in Chicago and other pockets around the country.
And there became within the community a strong desire to do two things. One, to do social welfare projects, and two, to have some kind of symbol and place to point to as a physical manifestation of their beliefs.
Before his death, the founder of the faith named his son his successor. His name was Abdu'l-Baha.
Abdu'l-Baha shared in his father's exile and imprisonment his whole life. He left the prison when he was 60-some years old, and so as an old man, he suddenly is free and he's able to travel to the West. The fact that he was able to undertake this trip and personally come and touch the lives of these early Baha'is, really to cement the Baha'i identity and help these nascent Baha'i communities.
After encouraging followers to build the first Baha'i temple in North America, he came to Wilmette, Illinois in 1912 and laid the first cornerstone.
Laying the cornerstone for this Baha'i House of Worship really laid the foundation for the whole community, because this was a project that they had to rally around, that challenged their resources. They had to figure things out. They had to get organized.
A small group of women spearheaded the project.
They picked the land, they set up the fundraising structure. They really kept this whole project going. It was really an incredible opportunity for women who didn't even have the right to vote. When the call went out to architects, what I think made the winning submission so completely exciting to the community was that the architect Louis Bourgeois decided to explore a new style of architecture that he felt would best explain the beliefs of the community. The only instructions he was given about what a Baha'i temple would be that it had to have 9 sides and a dome. The 9 sides were symbolic of the idea of unity. There would be no altar, and that the interior have no effigies, and that it be surrounded by gardens. The entire skin of the building is perforated so that light could come in from the outside, or in the evening come from inside out, to show the translucent nature of this community, this idea of openness, of unity. The pylons that have arrows, and then along the arrows are different religious symbols, and they're all kind of tied together. The Christian cross, the Muslim crescent moon, the Star of David, the lotus flower, and they're all put in an order, so the idea is they're all connected, but we're ever ascending. At the top of the dome, there's 9 ribs that come together in a very unique way, especially for its time. And this, the architect said, was supposed to be like the hands of the different races and religions of the world coming together in unity and clasping each other. The goal of a Baha'i house of worship is that someone would embrace it as their own house of worship and want to come here for prayer and meditation.
There are 7 Baha'i houses of worship around the world. Each bears its own unique design.
The Lotus Temple in New Delhi, India, is an example, which gets over 4 million visitors a year. The vast majority of these visitors are not Baha'i.
An 8th temple is currently under construction in Chile.
All Baha'i temples try to push the envelope. I mean, if you look at the design for the temple under construction in Chile now, that's at the cutting edge of construction and design technology today. So this idea of forward thinking, not looking backwards, but looking forwards, is part of the community's beliefs.
Today, there are 5 million Baha'is in the world, and their numbers continue to grow. Worship primarily takes place in the home, and there are no clergy or set rituals.
It's essentially a lay community. There's no standing of, who has the right to interpret the Scripture or speak about the Scripture or lead the community. We're essentially all on the same plane, but we elect our assemblies at the local level, at the national level, and then there's an international body called the Universal House of Justice. And that's basically how we're governed.
Most Baha'is around the world are free to practice their religion as they wish. However, those living in Iran are under constant threat of religious persecution, and many have been tortured or killed.
That's a situation that has garnered the most public attention and the most media exposure, especially ever since the 1979 Islamic Revolution in Iran. They made it very clear publicly that there was no place in the Islamic society for the Baha'is. The legal status of the Baha'is in Iran is that they're unprotected infidels under the law. So that means that they have no civil and political rights. They're not really regarded as humans before the law.
Baha'is living outside of Iran remain vigilant with the hope that one day religious freedom can be restored. Here in Wilmette, members of the Baha'i community are gathering for a breaking of the fast in the 19 days leading up to the Baha'i New Year, or Nowruz. The faithful fast from sunrise to sundown. For most, it is a time for inner reflection.
That's one of the amazing things, I think, about the laws of the faith, is that they may look like the same on the outside, but what they mean to each person can really be different.
It's very important for us to grow personally, but as well as serving the others.
A lot of times we think spirituality is a state of ecstasy or something, but that's really not. When we can manifest more attribute of God, then we are more spiritual.
Every human being and every soul longs to be connected to his or her Lord, and I feel that I have found the path for that, and we all have the path for that.
The Baha'i Faith really helps individuals to begin to understand why we are here. And that's what was so important to me in finding the faith, that I began to understand that there was a purpose for me here, to serve humanity, and in turn I am serving God. And that is something that I am reminded of every day.